Well, I'm so glad that God doesn't heal, according to Dolores Winder. Dolores, the worst thing the doctor said to you near the end?
Well, they took me in one more time to see if there was something else they could learn from my case. And my orthopedic surgeon had become a dear friend in the midst of all the taking care of me. And they called a new neurosurgeon in who had never seen me to see if there was anything they missed or anything they could still do or they could still learn from this for other people. And I was laying in the hospital. He came in and he sat down and I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Dolores, it's over." By this time, the bones had pulled loose. I had one bone through the skin. I had an open sore for 7 months with that bone through the skin. And I weighed less than 73 pounds. And I looked at him, and he was crying. And I said, "Why are you crying? I'm happy. I can go home now."
You can get out of the pain.
Yeah, I can get out of this.
Okay.
And not only me, but my family, too.
Okay. How about this woman that comes by and has the nerve to change the channel on the dial? Don't you change your channel, to change the channel on the dial. And there is a woman who says something like, "I believe in miracles because I believe in God."
Yeah.
What did you think when Catherine Coleman came on?
Well, when she changed my channel and this redheaded woman came out on platform, floating along and saying, "I believe in miracles," I looked at her and I said, "Who is that?" She said, "That's Catherine Coleman." And I said, "Turn that off." She said, "Don't you watch her?" I said, "No, turn it off." See, I came from Pennsylvania originally. I knew about Catherine Coleman.
But
I thought I did.
But she heard a voice. Did you believe that was God when you heard the name Catherine
because
Coleman?
I was praying. I said, "God, I need an answer for my son. I cannot die. I can't come home until you show me how you'll take care of Chris." And this all occurred then. And finally I said to her, before she turned it off, but before she left, she said, "What if you're keeping a door closed to God?" And I said, "By not watching Catherine Coleman, that's crazy." She left, but the question stayed. And finally I said, "All right, Lord, if I'm keeping a door closed by not watching her, you'll have to tell me when it's on, because by this time I was sleeping a lot and I was doped up a lot. And I'll watch her." Well, instead of that, I was waking up this day, a couple days later, and I heard Catherine Coleman's name. And I thought the woman who stayed with me was in the house. And I called to her. Now, remember, I didn't have a voice. I only had a hoarse whisper because they went through my throat to do the second cordotomy, and it paralyzed my vocal cords. And in a hoarse whisper, I called out to Gail, and she didn't answer me. And when she came in, I said, "Did you say something about Catherine Coleman?" She said, "No." And I thought, wow, that had to be the Lord. So I have to watch her. But instead of that, God, a whole chain of, God sets circumstances up for our life.
So let's fast forward. You end up at a meeting where it's not even a healing miracle meeting.
No,
she's just teaching
Methodist Holy Spirit Conference.
Okay, you're seated in there.
Yes.
You're not a happy camper?
Well, by this time, I got what I came for. She said, "Tonight I'm going to introduce you to the Holy Spirit." And I'm sitting there thinking, I know the Holy Spirit. It's the Spirit of God. The next words out of her mouth was, "If you call him it, you don't know him. He is God here with you." And suddenly everything in me was at attention. And I suddenly felt something, recognizing the Holy Spirit. And then I had my eyes closed because I didn't want to look at her. And I had my eyes closed. And behind my closed eyelids, I saw Chris, our son, and a man standing on our front porch. And the man turned and looked at me and said, "Tell Chris he need never walk in the house alone. Tell him to picture Jesus. Reach down, take my hand, and I'll walk in with him. But my name is Holy Spirit." And I knew it wasn't just for Chris, it was for Bill too. I knew I had my answer. I didn't understand it.
Bill's your husband.
Yes, but I knew I had the answer. It was the Holy Spirit. How simple. God here present with us. Jesus said, I'll not leave you alone.
You had your answer, but then you started seeing things that were bothering you on
That's right.
stage.
Well, you see, the Methodists told her no healing. So everyone had gone home, all her workers. But suddenly she said, someone had an ear open. If they'll come up, they'll receive their hearing. And I thought, what's going on now? And some people went up and they said, I can hear, I can hear. I got very frightened because suddenly it began to look like a sideshow up there. And I said to Gail, get me out of here. Gail, the woman who took care of me, took me. I said, get me out of here. But as I was trying to move so she could lift me up, my legs were on fire.
Your legs are on fire?
Yes. And it was such a shock to me. I just looked at them. And I had to hold my lips between my teeth to keep from screaming, burning so bad. And I heard the voice of the enemy that night also. He said, aren't you glad you only wear your cast 1 hour a day now? That bone that is pulled out is putting pressure on, making your legs burn. And of course, I wasn't very logical at that time. My mind was pretty destroyed. And so I believed that. And I would have gotten out of there and gotten home. And I met with the Board of Doctors and Ministers in California when I met with Catherine Kuhlman. And they said, if you would have gotten out of there, you would have probably gone home, crawled in bed, and died.
But a man walked up to you who happened to be a medical doctor who wasn't even supposed to be there.
No.
And he shows up, he walks up to you, and what did he say to you?
He said to me, what's happening to you? And I looked at him and I said, my legs are on fire. And he said, would you walk with me? And I looked at him and I thought, he can get me out of here. He's walking around, he must know them, so he can get me out. And I said, just help me up. And as he did, he said, now what can I do for you? And I said, put one arm around me and take this arm. And with my cane, I could hold my cane in his hand because I couldn't feel. I can push. And I can't walk, but I can shuffle. He started to walk out with me and he said to me, have you ever had any surgeries? And I said, I've had 4 spinal fusions and 2 percutaneous chordotomies. And he stopped. And nobody ever knew what a percutaneous chordotomy is because they rarely did it.
Only if someone's going to die.
Yeah, unless somebody, and 3 doctors have to certify that you are terminal before they can do it. And he looked at me and he said, you've had percutaneous chordotomies and your legs are burning?
Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this word. Don't go away.
We'll be right back to